Hello people of YouTube, it's Deepak here, and welcome to the DCS news stream for the 13th of August 2022. Sorry for the slight delay there, but we're live with you now. I hope you all enjoyed that little A4 community video. It's the latest in my series that I'm doing on community mods, the previous one having been the Super Tucano. It's a really nice aircraft to fly, and it's one of the few I've seen that has an externalized flight model. When it comes to these community mods. I think Tog's been saying for a while now that it's the year of community mods. So let me know what you thought of that one, and if you have other suggestions for community mods you'd like me to cover in the next few weeks, then I absolutely can do. Welcome to the stream, Stieglitz, Tog, Mark S, Wave, Vaporflow, Clint S, Dancer, who else have we got here? Matt Jones, Tech Gaming 45, Sim Taylor. Welcome everyone, welcome to the stream. How nice of you to join us. And so, without any further ado, let's bring on board the one and only, the dotChuckles. Good day, sir.
Oh, hello. Hang on, I've got shit going on everywhere. I'm in a bad fucking mood because Windows decided to basically fuck my audio setup. Just take it, bend it over a desk, and fuck it. No lube, straight up the ass. I'm really fucking pissed off. So I apologize. I sound like shit, and it winds me up.
But, you know, it's not the worst thing in the world. You sound fine to me.
Fucking Microsoft. How can I sound fine? I have no noise cancelling. I've got no compression. Like, I'm gonna peek off the top. You can probably hear my fan in the background. Oh, Jesus Christ! Oh, fuck it. Let's do the news.
Let's do the news. Grr. Matt Jones. I'm hoping Winwing start producing Harrier parts. That would be nice. I'd be up for that. Stieglitz, that's Microsoft right there.
yeah. And deciding it's going to do that when you boot up all your audio gear and outboard stuff like half an hour before you're due to stream, it just winds me up because I do not like sounding like an amateur because it's bad. It's just bad.
In fairness, it does this to me regularly. I get the same problems.
Yeah, the news is important, and important things have been happening, so I'm going to have to suck it up.
Suck it up, Buttercup.
That's the one!
Exactly. So we're going to start, as we always do, with the Eagle Dynamics newsletter. Dear fighter pilots, partners and friends, with the exciting announcement of DCS Kafir, we're pleased to introduce the upcoming DCS Sinai map by third-party developer On Retech. This stunningly accurate representation of the Sinai Peninsula, eastern Egypt and southern Israel will provide many opportunities for missions and campaigns based on fictional and historical scenarios. I'm sure we can think of a few historical scenarios which have occurred in this part of the world, because
just a couple. There's been a couple,
you know, one or two. There's been a couple,
right? It's not. I mean, like, why did they choose to model this part of the world? I mean, nothing's ever happened there.
Nothing interesting has ever happened between Egypt and Israel.
No.
And we are eager to provide you with a progress update on the DCS World War II Marianas map. It's the #1 thing that dotChuckles is waiting for.
Yeah.
Based on original US military and Navy pre-invasion maps, many more plantations, settlements, and other cultural features were discovered. Probably things that the US destroyed later. This has allowed us to create a highly accurate map of the Marianas in the summer of 1944. Please read the details below and check out the development screenshots. So, I think we absolutely need to start with the Sinai screenshots here, because I believe there were a few of them. Do I have the right part? Yes, here we go. Here's Sinai. So these are looking pretty good, and to my untrained eye, they look like they are actually a decent proportion through development. Although, of course, they might just be showing us the good bits.
Yeah. I mean, that airfield looks pretty good. Cairo and the rest of it. Yeah, I think it's early days. I think it's early days. Like, I think there's still like quite a bit of, that kind of shrub level ground clutter that feels missing. And I'm like, and I don't want to like judge.
Oh, wait a minute. I just realised that I'm showing screenshots on my screen and not showing it to the stream. Oh dear, oh dear.
This is going so well. So like, I don't want to judge it like just yet because it's it's early. It's early. So yeah, but I mean promising, and it's a cool area, and like again, it's just another surprise map. Like, whoa, where did this come from? So I'm not going to judge it too harshly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool.
Obviously,
Cairo.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty cool. Cairo is pretty huge, and we've got the canal as well, which is nice. Well, obviously, we're going to need to place a large container ship across the middle of it.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of scenarios we can do with this because if you think you've got the Suez Crisis, which was what 50s, back end of the 50s.
Yeah.
And then of course we've got the Egypt-Israel war, and then I'm guessing this is kind of gonna move up towards like the Gaza Strip and all that kind of stuff. I don't know.
It basically ends where our Syria map begins.
Wow, that's what I kind of thought. Yeah, so that now brings in like the Gaza Strip and all that kind of stuff into play. I mean, like it would be super good if like we could just combine this with the Syria map into one super map, and then all we'd have to do is add Turkey, and then you could tack the Caucasus on the top.
Well, yeah,
because like the only bit you're really missing is Turkey, like, and then you're off into the Black Sea, and then if you go east, like if we had an Iraq map, you could like bodge the Persian Gulf map on the end of that.
Oh dear.
You'd have a super map. And just watches everybody's memory.
I was about to say, you would only need 128 gigabytes of RAM to make it run.
Yeah. Dear
me.
It's a big map. Lots of history has happened there. So it seems like quite a logical choice. And like, yeah, I'm seeing a comment about sort of desert and stuff like that, and it's like, well, but we're getting the North Cape, so
oh no, more desert,
and we've got South Atlantic, so like, I think there's balance.
Which I flew for the first time today as part of my A4 video. I thought it'd be a laugh.
Nice.
I made it rain because it's Falklands.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm really excited about this, and funnily enough, pretty much everything that you just said sort of follows on somewhat from a video that I think it was Spudknocker posted today, basically making the same kinds of comments. Like he was saying, this feels like kind of the bit that was missed off of the Syria map a little bit, and he says that he understands the technical limitations involved, and it probably wouldn't be possible to like fully incorporate these two maps, but he says it's a bit unfortunate that it only really incorporates southern Israel. He says at the very least this map should include all of Israel, and of course it doesn't. It really only has the very bottom of Israel in it.
Like I'm just allow me to have a map, have a quick squiz at Google Maps before I say something ignorant. I think there might be a reason why that is. Because if it's skipping the bottom bit out and it's like sort of just taking in Gaza, and like across, like you're skipping out Jerusalem. Like there may be a reason why we don't have all of Israel, because like that could get a bit contentious, because the first time some idiots meme bombing, the Temple Mount in Jerusalem, like, because it's going to happen, because the DCS community can be a bunch of fucking idiots sometimes.
Well, they're people, and people are the worst.
Yeah. Like, probably that's why they're not putting it in. Because this is why we can't have nice things, because there are people and people are the worst. So that might be the reason. Who knows? I don't know. Or it's a technical reason.
A message from Jep. I appreciate all the work they're doing, new maps, etc. But please finish off all the stuff we already have.
Yeah, it's valid point, I guess, but this has come from a different developer.
This is a new developer we've not heard from
before. Yeah, exactly.
Before.
It's a new developer. So, like, I get where you're coming from, but it's not really the case that people are that new stuff is happening without old stuff being finished. Because this is a totally different developer, and that would be like saying, "What, we can't have any new content because from new players because their stuff's still being finished." Like, I don't buy it. Like, I don't get that as an argument. Like, I mean, I understand it. I understand where you're coming from, but like, I don't think it really applies in this case. Like,
Sim Taylor,
there are certainly areas where you could apply it, though. There are certainly places where you could apply it. Like, I'm going to mention Razbam here.
I so knew that was coming the moment you started that.
I know, right? How could you tell?
It's a fair comment.
Yeah.
Sim Taylor, do you really think the Israeli government would want all its territory, which is surrounded by potential enemies, having a hyper-realistic training aid? I don't think they have much say in the matter, to be honest.
And like, do you know what? Microsoft Flight Sim's there. Google Maps is a thing. Like, meh. Yeah, pretty much. So yeah, no, I get your point, and I'm sure the Israeli government is not super happy about its territory being included in what are effectively training aids, but they very much have no control over this. Yeah, and like, do you know what? We can go and bomb downtown Iran, so fair's fair.
Yeah, which is something I'm sure the Israelis would be very happy about.
Yeah, exactly. So
Yes, indeed. KG Lobster. They need to timeline roadmaps with all the EA stuff at this point. So yeah, making a comment about it'd be nice if people signposted where things are and when they're getting delivered.
Double-edged sword, though. Double-edged sword. Like, the amount of times, like, because, I mean, at the end of the day, companies like ED and the developers that work for them, they're tiny. They're small fry. They're like, they're like the size of a team, not even a team in a AAA studio, So things slip, things get delayed, and then all that roadmaps become, or timelines become, is a tool for niche parts of the community to beat them up with and just make them go, do you know what, actually, let's just go and develop a fucking mobile game because this ain't worth it, so...
Jep saying half the wars you can recreate on this new map we haven't got the assets for. I'm not so sure about that, because we've got the MiG-21, which is used throughout this region. We've got Mirage F1. We're going to have the Kafir. We've got the A4 as the community mod, which is would be applicable for this region.
And we've got the Phantom coming.
Yes.
F5. And if you want to go back to the Suez Crisis, I'm not sure if we were in that point where the RAF was briefly using sabers. So, and you've got the MiG-15 for that kind of era. Ground units, you could maybe argue that we're missing some of that. Because I think we're probably missing a few French oddities that would have been around.
French oddities, I like that as a term.
Although we've got some early Russian stuff. We don't have the Israeli tanks, but then have we got like the M6? Have we got the M?
Yeah, but have we got like Israeli tanks?
Yeah, but have we got like the M60?
Oh, actually,
no. We don't have the M60, so which I believe was their mainstay, and we don't have the Chieftain, which was I forget what they called it, but it was a Chieftain.
Yeah. Well, we have their modern one. We have the Merkava, don't we?
Yeah. Actually, so like I think like you could make the argument about ground units. Like I think being that's probably a valid a valid argument.
Yep. Welcome to the stream, Byron. Okay, continuing with the newsletter. So, DCS Sinai development report. The total size of the DCS Sinai map is 1,500 by 1,000 kilometers, of which 700 by 700 will be high detail. The map includes the entire Sinai Peninsula, eastern Egypt, and the Nile Delta, southern Israel, including Gaza, western Jordan, and western Saudi Arabia. This area features a wide variety of landscapes like mountains, rivers, deserts, agricultural areas, sea, and bays that provide a variety of mission and campaign settings. And actually, they've got some more screenshots, which I didn't see on the main screenshots page. And yes, genuinely, they're not here. So we get small versions of pictures that we can't actually see in detail. The map is being designed to represent the 2000s up to the present. It's planned to recreate about 40 airfields, both military and civilian. Wadi al-Jandali, Abu Suwair, Faid Air Base, Navatim Air Base, Ramon Air Base, and many more. The map also contains many military bases and strategic seaports that allow for interesting strike missions. A large number of military facilities and bases will help realize various historical scenarios based on the Arab-Israeli wars, as well as fictional missions and campaigns. Major cities, including Cairo, which will include Cairo International Airport, Ismailia, Alexandria, Suez, Port Said, and others. About 100 unique objects and agricultural monuments will be included. I wonder if we're going to get things... Oh, yeah. I was about to say, I wonder if we're going to get things like the pyramids, and there you go. They're in the screenshot.
Yeah. Cairo, screenshot Cairo, yeah.
Yep. All objects and assets are divided into territories to represent greater unique regional characteristics. The coastline of the Suez Canal, the Gulf of Suez, and the Gulf of Aqaba will be created in detail. I don't know how to pronounce that. The project will consist of 3 phases, and each phase will include airfields, unique objects, and unique scenes. This sounds a lot like how they did Syria, actually. It was delivered in a similar fashion. The first phase will include the entire territory with major cities and 14 air bases in Israel and Egypt. The second phase will add 11 more airfields. The third and final phase will add 12 to 14 more Egyptian military airfields. The One Re Tech team is making every effort to ensure that customers will receive the first 2 phases in early access, which will help to fully reflect the theatre of operations of the Arab-Israeli conflicts. So there you go. Too fast for you. Well, the perfect map to play 6-day war scenarios. Only missing module is a Mirage 3C, which was the main working horse during that war.
Yeah, that's a good comment there. Although, like, at the back of my brain, somewhere, I feel like somebody's doing a Mirage 3. I could
probably
be
Rasbon.
wrong. Probably
No, I'm joking. I don't know.
Like, because I know we've got the Mirage, like the F1, but like I was sure I remember seeing some screenshots of a 3, which would also be really cool. Like, I'd love to see a Mirage 3. Like, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
Yeah. No, it's exciting stuff. It's good to see so many maps showing up. Actually.
Yeah. Actually, the pace of everything is ramping up. We're seeing more modules being announced and being worked on in parallel by different developers, and we're seeing more maps having been delivered and being developed.
Yeah, because I mean the North Cape, that was a big surprise. Like, I wasn't expecting the North Cape, and I mean let's see if they're doing the North Cape. Like, that's a challenging ass map. That's really challenging. Like, would it be so hard to do Fulda Gap if they can pull the North Cape off? Like,
yes. The only thing about maps like that is that if it's based on present day, actually even if it's based on not present day, the density of the kind of population centres is huge. Those areas are massively populated.
Well, you wouldn't base Fulda Gap on the present day. Like, you'd be 1975 to 1980 probably for the Fulda Gap,
which is still very dense.
Yeah. Well, no, actually, not really. I mean, like the Fulda Gap, like big. You wouldn't have that many big
Population
population
centres?
centers. No. Yeah, you could totally do it. You could totally do it. There we go. That's just because I want to Fulda Gap. That's why.
Byron confirming it is Razbam. The
Uh,
Mirage 3C.
oh! So we were memeing about it, and it actually is Raspberry.
Like, we could just always say it's Razbam, and like 80% of the time we'll be right.
I thought it was like I was sure I'd seen some like quite nice 3D renders of it, and so there you go. Yeah, you could totally do 6-Day War. You could totally do 6-Day War because you'd have the three. Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah.
Dancer here saying that with the F4 and the Kfir, that's going to be good enough for the 1973 Yom Kippur War, because that's primarily what was used. So that sounds pretty good. Man with Polish name, I'm not going to try. I apologise in advance. What is the Virpil teaser? Well, you'll just need to be patient.
We'll get there.
Yes.
We'll get there.
Are we there yet?
We're not quite there yet, I don't think.
Yeah, no, there's more newsletter to go.
Yeah.
So the next bit, and it's the bit that, of course, we are the most excited for. We love our World War II stuff, don't we, Chuck?
Yeah.
DCS World War II Marianas. This might actually be kind of interesting just to see the difference between the two. And also, it's a free map, so we shouldn't complain.
Yeah, it's free. Yeah, it's free. Because, making a map that's 98% water is really, really difficult, so...
The bits that are not water are really nicely modelled, I think. It's quite
They
nice
are. They are. They also melt my machine with a 3090 in it.
Yeah. In order to accurately depict the Mariana Islands in the summer of 1944, the coastline textures and fields are being completely redone based on actual pre-invasion maps, courtesy of the United States Navy and military. On the island of Saipan, all three Haruji Matsui plantations, Aslito, Chacha, and Marpi Point are being recreated. They provide tons of cane that was processed in the nearby sugar mills and taken to the sugar dock to be shipped to Japan. Is this like is this turning into the Discovery Channel, or are they going to tell us about a map? The entire island of Tinian is also being recreated in high detail, and it comprises the original Japanese airfields. This largely and mostly flat area is also where the first napalm bombs were used against Japanese soldiers hiding in the surrounding jungle and outlying small islands. We're also making improvements to the coastline, settlements, and palm plantations. For more, please check out the development screenshots. Shortly before the retaking of Guam by US forces in June 1944, the island was still under the control of the Japanese. It consisted of very small villages occupied by the native Chamorro people. In the modern Marianas map, a lot of this area is covered by cities, but in the Second World War, the land was made up mostly of palm plantations. We hope you enjoyed this preview of the new maps coming to DCS, and we kindly await your feedback. And here we go. Here are the screenshots in larger form. Does look nice. Could be a bit of a laugh to fly around. Well, we've got two screenshots.
Yeah, it's just... Yeah, whatever. Like, don't care.
You don't care?
No.
Channel writes, World War II feels like a totally different game. Interesting, but not a fan either. I like the more modern tech.
Yeah, I mean... yeah. Like, I'm trying to think of something interesting to say, but actually, I suppose if they model the loading pit for the Enola Gay, like, that's kind of cool, because I know that's still there and it's covered with a little kind of glass pyramid to protect it. So that might be quite cool, I guess. Just like it's the one thing that the one thing that I looked at with Marianas is like you're right, the bits that aren't water very nicely modeled. Like the vegetation looks really good.
Yeah.
But the problem is it's a slideshow on even really powerful machines.
It actually runs not too bad on my machine, but I don't have my settings set very high.
Yeah, yeah, and like you can get it to run acceptable, but it seems to have this really high overhead, and it kind of makes me wonder that like with some of the stuff that we've got and some of the stuff that's sort of coming out, like Vietnam as a map, really screams like it needs to be done. Like, especially with the F4 coming, we've got the A6 coming. We've got the 7A7 as well.
Yes.
Like these are all sort of like, super iconic Vietnam era aircraft. We've already got the Farmer, and the MiG-21, and while the Saber's a bit like that's going more back to Korea.
Did they not fly them in the Vietnam War?
No,
in the beginning?
I don't think so. No.
Okay.
No, I don't think so. Bizarrely, I think they flew the P-51. Like, I want to say they flew the P-51 because it was like an AFAC coin kind of aircraft, and they put lots of rockets on it. I'm pretty sure that was the case. I could be totally wrong. I could be thinking of the Korean War. So like, we really need a Vietnam map, and like seeing how much this makes machines chunk with that vegetation, it's like, well, oof.
And this is what they would have in a Vietnam map.
Yeah. They kind of maybe they have to do some work. Which we kind of touched on this.
Okay. But Byron is telling both of us that we're wrong. There were no F-86s in Vietnam, as you said, and it was the Sky Raider and not the P-51.
Sky Raider, yeah.
Yeah, a pretty good close air support aircraft.
Yeah. Tog saying as well, that was Korea. I thought, like, now that I was thinking, it was like, yeah, that's Korea. It's the Sky Raider I was thinking of. It was pretty cool.
Oh yes.
Yeah, I think you had to have some pretty massive bollocks to fly that into combat. Like,
well, especially given how nasty the anti-air defenses were.
I think it was sort of early on in the Vietnam War that was used. So I think like it wasn't so bad. But I mean, still, like, Billy Big Balls to get into one of them.
Yes, indeed. So now it is time to take a little bit of a look at what's coming next from Virpil. Now,
yeah.
Sadly, as always, I've got it muted because I just don't want to get a copyright strike. But let's go ahead, have a little look at this promotional teaser from Virpil.
Yeah.
The thing that I find funny about it is that most of the video is just someone flying stuff in DCS. We don't actually see that much of Virpil's products.
It's a teaser. It is a teaser. And like watching this video, YouTube comment section doing what it does best, which is pissing and moaning, because he's got a center stick and he's flying the F-16. Fucking shave your neck beard off. Shut up.
Does it matter?
Yeah, I know, right? But like, what they're teasing here is something super cool, and we're having to do, I think, a little bit of inference from watching this. Especially the moment I think that is coming up. Where is it? Or has he already done it? Like, no. Here we go.
He did it once, but
yeah, right. Okay, so what we're seeing here, I think, and people on the VAF Discord have said as well, is that it is a dampened stick, so it's got a clutch in it. Which is really cool. I have the torque rudder pedals that I use for flying helicopters that Virpil put out that I think is probably going to have this or they're using the same system in, and it works really well. Like, it gives a really nice hydraulic feeling to the controls, and you can set the like return force. So, for example, when I'm flying the Apache, I have it set so there's no return force. That when I input like torque, it stays put, which is as it should be with anti-torque pedals. So this is going to do a couple of cool things. One, if it works the same and you can really dial up that clutch strength, it means the stick will stay where you put it, which is going to be really cool for flying helicopters.
Yes.
And two, it's going to give us a much more hydraulic feeling stick. So lots of wins here. Yeah, super excited. And I'm actually in the market for a new gimbal because my first generation Virpil gimbal is kind of on its last legs because I bought it pretty much when it came out and I've used it consistently, and it's the old design of cams, and I think that the holes that hold the cams in have become eccentric, like actually moved, and so I'm getting like this sort of clicking when it happens. I need to take it apart and see what's going on. So I'm in the market for a new gimbal. So this getting announced is super hot news. The other thing I noticed, it looks like they've changed the mounting solution for it, which does mean for all of us who are upgrading our Virpil gear, that means we need to get a new mounting plate, which is a bit of a pisser.
That's a minor thing.
It is a minor one, because but like their mounting plates aren't cheap. I mean, they're not deadly, but it's not like a throwaway cost. So it's something you got to consider when you're already paying for a gimbal, which I'm guessing this is going to be somewhere about the 250 mark. Like that's kind of my feeling.
It would have to be. I was wondering though, do we think this is simply a tunable damper, or do we think it's actual force feedback?
It's not force feedback.
No, okay.
No, I don't think it's force feedback.
Fair enough. Because that's something I was wondering about. Because if it was actual force feedback, that would of course be revolutionary for helicopter flying. Because then you would have the ability to fly the cyclic like a real helicopter pilot does. Pulling the handle or pushing the button, removing all the forces, putting it into the right position, letting go, and having it hold it there.
Yeah. No, I don't think this is force.
Yeah.
I don't think this is force feedback.
Oh.
But what it's going to do, in the same sense that force feedback does, and why the damper is important, is you don't get, you're not going to get the recoil from the stick.
Oh yeah, the bounce.
Which even if you've got it in your hand, you have to control when you suddenly let off pressure on the stick. You get the recoil, from the spring, which this is going to damp out.
Yeah. True.
So there's another benefit there with it. Yeah, force feedback would be amazing, and I think it's about time somebody did a proper non-gimmicky force feedback stick. Somebody pointed out in our Discord, and I can't remember who, that the patent is actually up now on force feedback. The Microsoft no longer have the patent, so it's up there for the grabbing if somebody wants to do it. And that is going to be a pricey proposition in terms of a peripheral, but when you consider Thrustmaster will charge you nearly $600 for a pair of rudder pedals.
Yeah.
It's
not a cheap hobby in any case.
No. But the thing is, okay, let's say somebody makes a force feedback stick to this level with this amount of because let's not forget, when you buy Virpil or VKB or something like that, you're also buying into an ecosystem of accessories. Like you've got the extenders, you've got the grips, you've got all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So if you were already in that ecosystem, I'm pretty sure people would pay £500-600 for a proper force feedback gimbal.
Yeah, probably.
People are going to pay it. It's just, it would be a no-brainer.
And it then means without any modification, you have a single gimbal which can simulate basically anything. So you want to fly your F-16, or you load one setup and away you go. You want to fly your helicopter, you load a different profile. You want to fly something that has a bit more springiness, like a World War II aircraft. You load that profile, away you go.
Yeah. I'm a little bit annoyed about the change of mounting plate on it. Like I think this is more in line with their Warbird gimbal. In the way that mounts, like the way the Mongoose mounts, it's got like a thing on the front, like a block on the front. I'm guessing it's going to have something to do with the clutch mechanism, or the damper must be taking up that space. So they've changed how the plate kind of mounts. It also like looking at the video, like when you see it mounted to the mounting bracket, like it's those two, yeah, like so. Those actually no, it is actually okay. All right, I take that back. There is quite a lot holding it to the top there, because initially, when I initially looked at it, it was like, holy crap, there's not much holding that on. Like, are we going to have a bit of a wing scenario here?
Yes.
But actually, that actually looks a lot sturdier now that I've got a closer look at it. So I retract that.
I'm interested in these two rubber covers that we have here, which are removable. Is that to allow additional cables to run up the outside? Or?
Which ones? At the front or at the top?
Yeah, I can't show you a pointer, can I? So at on the top, there are the two that have the half circle arrow.
I'm gonna make a guess that those are for changing the strength of the damper, because on the Torx pedals you have exactly the same thing.
Oh,
except
okay.
I've only got one, because it's only controlled in one axis on the.
Yeah, so you could have one per axis here, I guess.
Yeah. Because like in the video, like you see him with an Allen key adjusting it, and it's a really, really chunky Allen key. And on the Torx, it's a really chunky Allen key that you use to change it. Yeah, that's going to be for adjusting the damper. Like the hole there to the left of that, that's your sort of spring tension probably.
Yeah, I've got that on my CM1.
Yeah, because that exists already. But these two big ones, that's going to be your dampers, I'm guessing.
Okay.
The ones on the front, those are for your USB, like
it's pass
through and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. It looks really good.
Yeah,
I've got to say, and those are the same pedals that you and I have.
Yeah. We both kind of went for the same pedal setup. The like heel on the floor, but you've got the toe brakes. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. As soon as that drops on their shop, that's boom, bought, credit card, thank you very much.
Oh dear. That's the thing with Virpil stuff. Like they revise their hardware and they release new grips from time to time, actually fairly regularly. Because I've got all the original stuff. Mine is all the very first stuff they released, with the exception of my pedals. And I'm so bloody tempted every time they produce like a revised grip or something similar, because they now have extra buttons. They've got hats that have depress and things like that. I've still got the original ones with none of that.
I have opinions on this.
Oh, give me your opinions, sir.
Right. So, I was the same as you. I had first generation everything, and I've been slowly updating everything. And the only thing that I've kind of got left to bring up to current standard is the gimbal, the Mongoose. But one of the most recent ones that I did was the grip, the TM50.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So whilst the new one adds nice features like having the press, it actually, in some regards, with some of the switches, is a step backwards, because they've gone, and I don't know if they've changed their supplier or what it is, but the 8-way hat switch on the first gen one that you've got, it's got very defined directions.
Yes,
like. You have to really want to, go in the direction you want. Like you don't really accidentally, you know, misclick it, right?
Very true.
Like
I found that myself. It's
to
very
get
precise.
diagonal. Right. The new one, it's so light that like if you've got your trim on it, and especially because it is the trim, you know, control. Like I found myself going, why am I not trimming? Why am I not trimming? Why am I not trimming? Because I'm pressing down and right because of how your thumb sits. Because you put the angle on the grip for the wrist relief as it should be. But what that means is the way that your thumb works on it, you're inclined to push down and right. Say you were wanting to trim nose up, if you get what I mean.
I do, yeah.
Right. And so then you go, oh, right, well, I'll only map the for cardinal directions.
Yeah.
And then what happens is nothing occurs because you're not activating the direction that you want. So what I've ended up having to do is, like, for example, in the case of down, I've had to put both down and right as nose up.
Okay.
And like aileron and like, you know, aileron right, you know, that's both right and up. And it's really annoying.
It makes sense. I get exactly what you're saying. I actually don't have this problem because I have my grip mounted perfectly straight, because the aircraft that I fly in the real world has the stick mounted that way, and so I'm very used to just having this straight grip. I know it's not ergonomic, but that's the way the real aircraft is.
Yeah. But like I don't know what it is. They just like it feels like they've almost gone for cheaper hat switches.
Okay. Because I do like the sound of the depress, but is it not the case that they're now on the 3rd gen of grip by now?
Yeah, this is the 3rd gen.
This
grip,
is the 3rd you're talking about,
or is it the 2nd? I can't remember. It's whatever's the most recent one. Like
it's the
like
3rd.
The hat switches are just a bit like. Yeah, I'm not sure. Sure.
I have to say that the quality of my 1st gen grip is exemplary. It is really, really, really good.
Like there's actually like there's been times where I've thought about going back to the 1st gen grip, but then actually it's like that push is really useful for like the trim in the Apache. But like it's just like it's really, really easy to activate the other directions on it, and like instead of getting the push down, you get like the push forward or the pull back. Whereas like I just like with the older hat switches, I don't think that would have happened. Like it's just a bit more sturdy. So it's like, if I'm being honest, I was a bit disappointed in it.
Oh, wow.
But you know, there's other things in it that sort of make up for it, and you know, it ends up being a really good thing. But anyway, we're talking hand grips here. What we should be talking about is this gimbal, and
yes.
I think it's gonna be really good. And if the price is right, I think it'll do well.
I'll wait for one of you guys to buy it, and then I'll ask how it is, and then I'll decide.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's going to be a day one purchase for me. Like, because I need to upgrade my gimbal because it's going to break soon, and I can't be arsed like drilling out and you know, fixing the holes. So
Fair enough. Zigzag on chat. When will we see an update or upgrade to the SU-25 and SU-25T models? It's well overdue.
never.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. I think never. The thing is, you got to keep in mind that these are given away for free with DCS World. ED has no incentive to put any effort into them. They're just a way of getting people on board and then hopefully convincing them to buy the paid-for modules.
Yeah. Also, like, they've probably lost access to their reference models now.
Yeah. It's very, very difficult for them to approach anything Russian these days. So you may find that they can't, even if they wanted to. Because, the Russian laws... especially this year, the Russian laws around anything to do about military technology have really tightened. You basically can't do anything that has anything to do with Russian military tech now.
And they're they've done a certain amount of distancing as well, quite rightly so. They're very keen to point out that they are a Swiss company.
Yes.
Now, for example,
Despite the fact that all the devs are in Moscow.
well, they're not. They're not. That's
Has that changed now?
They have a few, I believe, but I think the majority of people of them work from home and aren't based in Moscow anymore. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
That might be for the best for everyone.
Yep.
Okay, fair enough. Moving on. We had another little thing on the agenda today. Let me see if I can actually bring this back out. I saw this article on Stormbirds, one of our favourite news sources for DCS stuff, and they were talking about DCS World's new Cold War niche. And I thought this was quite an interesting talking point and something that we could open up. We could open up to chat and see what chat think.
Right.
So I'll quickly set the scene here. Sometimes a good thing comes together as part of a plan, and sometimes they seem to just happen by accident. Calling the recent focus by third-party developers and by the DCS flight sim community at large an accident may sound like a disagreement of what's going on, but I'd like to think the opposite. With that as the background, now may be a good time to explore just what is going on and what's coming up next. Let's go. So anyway, actually, I'm not going to read out all of this because it's so... There's quite a lot going on here. But basically what he's posing as a kind of talking point is, is it a good thing that we're getting so many Cold War era modules? These, although they still have, they're very capable aircraft, can still do many things, they're perhaps simpler than the modern computer-controlled aircraft that we have today to learn to operate. Does it make the flight sim more accessible?
Yeah, it does. It does. Yeah. I applaud the influx of Cold War aircraft, because I think when when we go back to the start and we go back to Flaming Cliffs, you could jump in an F-15 and you had a few keyboard shortcuts, and you had to understand how to employ the radar.
Yeah.
How to get it tactically, but you didn't have to, memorize, 12 pages of switchology to boot the jet up and get all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
And I'm not saying that now that we have got computing to a level where we can now, in our simulator, create that. I'm not saying that it's a bad thing. Because I love that stuff.
Oh, me too. Whenever I'm talking about modules, I'm always talking about how nicely the systems are modeled and how much I enjoy fiddling with stuff.
Totally. Switchology and the method of operation is probably about 75% of why I fly DCS.
Yeah.
But what we have to remember is that we are a niche of a niche hobby, right?
Yeah.
We are not. We are not the
Call of Duty.
We're not the majority. We're not the majority of DCS players. I mean, I'm sure there are a lot of DCS players that share our passion and want to understand that stuff. Because we now have a sim that is such high fidelity. You're practically having to go and spend a year and a half, the Air Force, academy to go and learn how to use this stuff. Not everybody has that time. Not everybody has that drive. But a lot of people want to get into a plane and go and shoot some stuff down, and they don't want a prop on the front. They want a big afterburner behind them. And that's what Cold War stuff does. It's much more accessible. It's still a high fidelity simulation. You've still got some systems. You're still going to have to learn how to fly and operate your aircraft properly. But I think it's a lower barrier to entry. Not in terms of skill. I'm not saying that it takes any less skill to fly these aircraft. In fact, it probably takes more, because you don't have your digital nanny in the computer going, actually, don't do that. I'm taking control of your aircraft, and I'm not going to let you over-G it. So, there is a balance here, but I think it is more accessible, and I think it is a gateway to high fidelity simming, because once people, yeah, it's easier to get into, it's easier to boot the jet up and take off and start shooting at stuff. But then they will discover that there's a whole big learning curve beyond the first Dunning-Kruger peak. And then when they get to the other side of the first Dunning-Kruger peak and realize, holy shit, I've got a lot to learn, they're already bought in and they love the simulation and they want to apply themselves and really apply themselves to learning how to do, basic fighter maneuvers. And that's what this Cold War stuff does. It's pure dogfighting. It's before we had missiles that could kill you from 30 miles out. It's before we had, total off-bore sight aiming systems. It is, the person in the cockpit against the other person in the cockpit, not who's got the best computer and who's got the best radar. And I think it's brilliant that we're getting that. And this is not a zero-sum game. Just because we've got Cold War stuff doesn't mean we don't have the modern stuff. It's like... And where else do we go? Where else do we go in DCS right now?
Because we can't really model the present day stuff. I'm still very impressed that we're getting Eurofighter Typhoon. I think that's just about as modern as you could go, and still be able to get the information. Like we're not going to see an F-22.
No.
Anytime soon.
No.
We're not going to see
an F-35. No. We're not going to get access to the new Chinese stuff. We're not going to get access to the modern Russian stuff. So where else do you go? Mm-hmm. Cold War.
Absolutely. And if we really distill it right down to a simple sort of subset of the modules, MiG-21, F-5, Mi-8, Mi-24. You could take these 4 modules. These are 4 very clearly Cold War era aircraft, and you can have so much fun with these aircraft. They can basically do everything that the modern ones can do, although they're employed slightly differently, and a lot of fun to operate. Especially the F-5 and the MiG-21. I would say that both of those are very quick and easy to kind of boot up and get in the air, even if you do fully cold start them. And of course, you don't have to. You can do the... What is it again? The Windows something key, and it boots itself up.
Alt home, bang, jet starts. Do you know what? I'm going to put it out there. I auto start the jet a lot because it's like I want to get flying. Yeah, I want to get flying. I want to go fly, and I want to do stuff. Like I know the sequence. I know the checklist off by heart. But. Do you know what? I'm just going to let the thing run whilst I get my notes together and I have all that kind of stuff, and I don't think there's anything wrong with it. And in this hobby, there's so many pissy fucking gatekeepers.
Yeah.
And I can't be bothered with it. Do you know what? If that shit gives you a hard-on, fucking fine. Whatever tickles your pickle. But don't fucking gatekeep other people's enjoyment. Just fucking you do your thing.
But dotChuckles, if you're not wearing a real Air Force helmet and being slapped in the face with a fish,
I know.
Are you really flying?
I know. It's just, and I get a feeling that this is where some of the backlash against the Cold War stuff comes from. It's not, it's fucking easy mode, and it's like, okay, well, if you say that, it just shows how little you know about aviation.
Yeah.
Tell me how little you know about aviation without telling me how little you know about aviation.
I was watching a guy, a YouTuber, doing a DCS stream, and I think he was on one of the Cold War servers, and he was flying the F-5. And watching him engage other aircraft in the F-5 was probably one of the most entertaining things I've watched with regards to DCS in a while. It was brilliant.
Yeah. It's like the Cold War stuff is more accessible. It doesn't mean it's less deep.
Yeah.
Because to fly these aircraft at the edge of the envelope and be combat effective, it takes a huge amount of skill.
Yes.
Arguably more skill than somebody flying a modern jet. modern jets are about systems management.
Yeah.
And that takes a lot of skill, and that takes a lot of brain power. You will tactically dominate the airspace with a modern system because you are not having to put so much thought process into flying your aircraft because the aircraft is doing a lot of it for you. Carefree handling, just bang, pull the stick, and you are now at your corner speed.
Yeah.
Job done. And that's great because it lets you think tactically. It lets you get your head out of the jet and look for targets and think about what your next move is.
Well, the F-16 being the perfect example of this. Like, as you say, pull on the stick, point your head in the direction of your enemy, pull the trigger, aim 9X, goes and smites it.
Job done. Yeah. And that's great. And that's what you want from a modern combat platform. Absolutely what you want. But when you're looking at these Cold War jets, you are having to constantly manage your energy. You're having to constantly
manage your systems.
Yeah, you're having to filter out the crap on your radar because your radar's first generation. Lots and lots of work. So it's a high workload. It's not, this is not easy mode. Like I say, if people are saying, oh, the Cold War stuff, oh, it's fucking easy mode, it's like, yeah, tell me you don't know shit without telling me you don't know shit.
Another thing that I would like to say is that the priority of aircraft makers in that period, kind of 70s, 80s, let's say, was totally different. We probably was 60s as well. They were all about high top speed, high altitude, high speed missile carriers. And there wasn't as much thought put into maneuverability. And actually, many of our present-day aircraft are less fast than some of these Cold War aircraft. These Cold War aircraft were faster than what we have today.
Yeah, absolutely.
But they weren't as capable in many ways.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it was about get up to altitude, intercept the bomber.
Yeah.
Because this is kind of around about the time of changeover from to ICBMs and submarine launched missiles being the major part of the nuclear triad. Back then, it was the bomber was still the major part of the triad, and your job was get up there, shoot that bomber down, which is why we had insanely fast aircraft like the Lightning. Like,
I was just thinking, the Lightning is probably the best example because that thing, I think, it still holds some speed records.
Yeah, it still holds several times altitude records. It was a beast. Couldn't turn for shit.
No. Like, you didn't want to merge in it.
No. But, that's not what it was designed for. But then, the thing like, aircraft like the F4, the A7, the Mirage as well. These are dogfighting aircraft that you have to learn how to fly on the edge and fly well in order to be effective in it. And that's a challenge. Like, we dunk on World War II stuff a lot, like and we do it. We do it for the meme. We do it for the meme. Like, because I totally understand the passion for World War II dogfights. I understand why people want to play with the World War II stuff because it is a very, very pure fight. That is all about energy management and outturning your opponent. The Cold War stuff gives us that, but with a jet, and that's where I'm at.
Yep. It is very, very cool. Pink Floyd, love your videos and the show. Thanks for both.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. World War III was supposed to be fought by flying missile platforms. Yeah, this is kind of the way it's envisaged.
Yeah,
and actually, the fifth generation aircraft now are kind of amalgamating both concepts. So they're flying high and fast, and they can loiter for a long time, and they have sensor fusion and complex data links, long range missiles. So like the fifth generation stuff is doing everything plus super maneuverability. So I think they've just decided, okay, we're now going to do everything. But look at what that does to the aircraft. Number one, look at what that does to the price tag. So we now have aircraft that can do anything, but most countries could only afford to have 10 or 20 of these aircraft with their budgets. So like we're coming into a really weird time. Like, if a country was actually able to buy F-22s, which they can't, but say Belgium was able to buy F-22s, how many do you think they would field? 5?
Yeah.
10?
Yeah.
They're not going to be able to afford to have very many of them. Even the F-35, which is a significantly cheaper option, is still ridiculously expensive when compared to previous generations of aircraft. How many of those are most countries going to be able to field?
Yeah, the thing is, like, I've been reading some stuff about the F-35, and the expense of it, but it, like, a lot of the analysis sort of doesn't take into account the sort of unified maintenance that it gives you. If you had a large inventory of multiple types, like the cost of maintaining the inventory, like the spare parts, the maintainers, training the maintainers on who will only really work on one, maybe 2 platforms, like the cost of all that, phenomenally, like, just huge. And then you kind of go and get rid of it all and go, right, well, there's one environment and that's what you're training in, and actually it sort of ends up being cheaper. But
a lot of
there's a lot of contention over it. But, yeah.
Oh yeah, a lot of the European air forces though who'd be looking to buy the F-35 are already single type operators in the form of the F-16. So
and it's a lot cheaper.
It's a lot cheaper.
A lot cheaper for them to do that. A lot cheaper to do. I mean, it's part of the reason why the RAF slimmed down. We used to have so many different types, and we slowly whittled it down.
And of course, part of that was about supporting the British aircraft industry, which no longer exists.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, it's. Yeah, there's a lot of there's just a lot of gatekeeping going on, like in sort of in forums and things that I've read, and it's just like
we're all just here to have fun.
Just let people enjoy stuff. Fuck's sake, shut up! Just shut up, you fucking fedora wearing neckbeard. Go call somebody milady and fuck off. Like, it winds me up. Like, passion is good. Do you know what? Passion is good. Like, I love that people are passionate, but when it gets to be that their passion is more fucking valid than other people's, it's like, do you know what? Like, I'm gonna get really politically incorrect.
Well, on that high note, perhaps should we tell everyone about the VAF, which is a place where people do not possess neckbeards and are very, very nice.
Yeah. It's just more the idea of, like, what's your end game? Do you think people are gonna fuck you because you're the more pure sim pilot? No, just come on. Get some perspective.
Your bloodline is not guaranteed.
Yeah. Enjoy the flying. Enjoy what you do. Let other people enjoy what they do. It's not a zero-sum game. Just because lots of Cold War fighters are coming out doesn't mean that suddenly people aren't allowed to develop, like, modern stuff. It's ridiculous.
Speaking of which, Sab Gripen E, please.
Oh God, yeah. Do you know what? That would be so good. It
would be so good.
It would be so good.
And there is actually a community mod for it just now, which doesn't look bad, but it's a bit janky, as sometimes community mods are. It'd be really nice to see a real full fidelity module.
I'd fly the shit out of a Gripen. Like, it would be so good. I mean, I laugh in that we called the like, was it last year or something? We were almost about to put money on the fact that Heatblur's next aircraft was going to be a Gripen.
Yes.
And then it turned out to be the Eurofighter, and I still maintain, well, actually, technically, we were right.
Technically. Oh dear. And what was it? We was it last week or the week before? We called the Gripen the the good value F16 or something like that. I can't remember.
The Tesco value.
Tesco value F16.
Tesco value Eurofighter, I think is what it was.
Oh, is that? Yeah, actually, you're right. You're right. That's what it was. I would attest it's more comparable to an F16. It's like a cheap F16.
Is it though? Is it the cheap F16? Because it doesn't cost more than an F16.
No, it's cheaper than an F16.
Oh, I thought it cost more. Okay.
It's very similar. Basically, the whole point of the Gripen is the same as the JF-17, because the JF-17 was built exactly for that purpose. It's like Pakistan went to China and said, "Okay, we've got these F-16s. We like them, but we can't afford them.
Go and make something.
Go and make something that's just like an F-16 but cheaper."
Yeah.
And out came the JF-17, which is a really, really, I think, a very, very nice aircraft. But it's cheap.
There was a channel, right? JF-16 is the Tesco's F-16. It's like little F-16.
Yes, yeah, little F-16. So, speaking of VAF, let's pimp the VAF, sir.
Yeah, we'll pimp the VAF.
So yeah, the Virtual Air Force, the VAF. It still is an online squadron founded by myself and dotChuckles here. It's an opt-in milsim style online squadron. We have a number of squadrons that you can join, which are dedicated to particular airframes and provide quite detailed mandatory training and additional qualifications that you can achieve. But you can also join the squadron as a freelancer, and if you're a freelancer, you can fly whatever you like, whenever you like, and there's no mandatory training. We do training sessions with the whole squadron every Tuesday at, now let me see if I can remember based on time zone, 8 PM UK time. We do missions every Thursday at 8 PM UK time. And we fly at various times throughout the week as well. But those are the two major regular flights that we do. We currently have squadrons for the A-10, the Harrier, the F-14, the F-16, the F-18, and the Apache. And we're recruiting to all of those all the time. And who knows, maybe there'll be more squadrons in the future if we find squadron leaders and pilots for them.
Well, I mean, exactly. We were talking idly chucking about the idea about logistics and like, well, could you form something that would be a logistics squadron? So we're always open to lots of ideas and adding new things.
Very much so. We're always looking to do new stuff. We're also interested in people who want to be radio operators, air traffic control, mission commanders, JTACs.
This is
you don't have to fly.
Yeah, this is a big thing right now. We're really trying to push this sort of human ATC, human GCI and JTAC, because what we found, we have people who are interested in doing it, but they're kind of splitting their loyalties because they always want to fly. And we're not a unit that sort of says, oh, if you join to do this, that's all you can do. Like, people are here to have fun, and if you don't want to do something, well, that's cool. You don't have to do it because you're here for fun. So but when they have sort of stepped into those roles, it's made everything work so much better. Like having human GCI and human ATC, like the level of realism and tactical realism just goes through the roof. People really start getting into it. So we're really wanting to kind of expand that. Unfortunately, it's difficult finding people who want to dedicate their time to doing it.
Yeah.
But maybe you're out there and your sim rig is down. Maybe you haven't been able to keep up with the pace and the cost, especially given the time we've just been through of keeping your rig current, and you're feeling like, your frame rates can't keep up. Well, do you know what? We've definitely got a role for you, and a really valuable role that, you will be thanked for if you're coming along and doing air traffic control and GCI, and you know what you're doing with those things. We would absolutely love to hear from you, because it really makes our time better.
Absolutely. Channel right to answer your question. Oh, yeah, well, Leo Netzel just answered for me. I was going to say it's 28 degrees. It was where I live, which is just in the North Stockholm. So,
and it is indeed bloody warm here in the UK. People are saying, Clint S, love you guys. My work schedule does not. Yeah. Yeah, that's a problem. Although, we don't want to talk about it too much just yet because we don't know how things are going to work out. But we may be becoming a little bit more US time zone friendly in the medium future. There's a few things to organize first and to get working, because we understand, we're kind of a UK time-based squadron, but we might be able to sort of expand our kind of operating active hours to be a little bit more accommodating, and that might be able to help with you guys.
Nice. So yeah, that's the VAF. There is a Discord link in the show notes below. Please come and join the Discord. Everybody is welcome. It doesn't. You don't have to fly with us. You can just hang out and chat to us.
Exactly.
That's also acceptable. But if you do want to join one of the internal squadrons, just post in the general chat specifying which airframes you fly and what you would like to join. And you'd be very, very welcome. Everybody's welcome to come fly with us.
Yeah. And also welcome to just come and chat. We have quite a few people who just like hanging around and talking nonsense about planes.
Yeah, that's allowed.
A few other things as well.
It's over 400 people on the Discord now.
Wow.
Did you know that? Yeah.
I didn't. I haven't kept my eyes on the stats. That's incredible.
More than 400 people on that Discord.
That probably explains why chat moves so fast there now.
Yeah. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy.
That's bonkers. But yeah, no, it's good because we've got, it's not just flying. I mean, what I think is nice and what I like about, keeping my eye on the Discord and hanging out there is that, we're all kind of similar, like-minded people, and obviously there are differences and that's cool. But we've got places to talk about music, foods, current events, whatever you want. So, absolutely, everybody's welcome.
Absolutely. Afterburner, you're very welcome. I'm glad that the videos were of a help to you.
It's been a good series for you, actually. That's worked out really well. Yeah.
People really like the radar ones. Whenever I do videos about radars, people love radars.
Cool. Have we not got more changes coming to the F-16 radar?
Oh, probably. The F-16 is not done yet.
Yeah, I think there's more stuff coming with the radar, and I want to say we might be getting Sniper.
That one was taken off the list and then put back on when everyone cried about it.
Right.
So I believe we are getting Sniper XR.
Yeah. what wags giveth, wags taketh away.
Yes. No, we are indeed going to get Sniper XR at some point, so that's really cool.
Oh, daddy wags.
Ooh. Oh dear. Tog asking, you're going to do an Eagle series when it drops deep? Absolutely. The F-15E is very much my bag. It's one of Jane's F-15 Strike Eagle was something I put a lot of my time into.
Strike Eagle 3 was my I played that to death when it came out. That was God. Yeah.
Jarl asking, any news about the Eurofighter? Nothing recently, no. So we don't know anything just yet. Clint S, shout to your scooter vid. Looking forward to more of those. I'm going to continue doing the community mods. It's going to be fun.
Yeah.
What about the Black Shark 3, asks Jarl. Most recently, they did speak about it in one of the newsletters a few months back. And they said that it's really basically just going to be a reskinning and an updating of the model. We're really not getting any new functionality, I suspect almost certainly because of the new Russian laws around military technology.
Politics definitely got in the way of that. Although that said, do you know what? I would really welcome a new higher fidelity cockpit. Like that'd be that'd be a welcome upgrade. I just think they need to be careful how they position it with pricing.
I would suspect if it's just a reskinning that we're now getting it for free, because there's really not going to be any new functionality in it at all. So they're really just prettying up the model.
Yeah.
Because everything they wanted to do ended up having to be cancelled. Because it was not allowed.
Tog asking also any news about the tornado. Can we add? Shall we add to the speculation on that?
It's not a tornado,
but it might be. So are we going to talk about the speculation on
Go for
this?
it. Go for it.
Like about the interview on what was it? Was it Fighter Pilot Podcast?
Yes, it was. Yeah, I watched that one, and I know what I think, and I know what you and Frantic think.
Yeah. That somebody basically said, "Oh yeah, we're doing the tornado," and somebody from marketing went, "Shut up! Don't say anything. No, we're not. Yes. We're absolutely not."
Exactly. They basically presented it as, we would like to be doing something with a tornado, but we're not.
Yeah. So I kind of wonder, because for a while the tornado mythos was that no, it's verboten, we can't get the license, we can't do that. And then Wags popped up and said, actually, we never said that.
Yeah.
Like,
it was
we never
Polychop who said that.
It was Polychop who said that. And clearly, the people who deal with the licensing from Polychop were getting a bit of a different story, because they were a bit, a small player.
Polychop is basically one guy, so...
Yeah. So, like, Wags corrected, and it kind of got buried in the forums, and everybody was still saying, no, it's we can never have a tornado. And then, we get this of somebody accidentally dropping, we're working on a tornado. But the thing with things like licenses and all that kind of stuff, like, depending on where you are in that kind of world and development cycle, you can't talk about it. And so if somebody
until something's signed, you really can.
So
so Jarl, just to confirm, no air-to-air missiles for the Black Shark, and also the fancy new RWR that it was going to get is also not coming, is my understanding. James Fenton, is anyone using the in-game radio, or is it still SRS? At VAF, we only use SRS.
We only use SRS for now. We will say for now. We did have a look at the in-game radio, and it is heading in a promising direction. Absolutely.
You and I were trying it out when the Apache first came out, because we thought it might be really good for the intercom.
Yeah. It is heading in the right direction, definitely. It's not quite ready. It needs some more time in the oven. If it proves to do what SRS does, I would absolutely move towards it, because we really like to have a low barrier of entry for things, because we find it gets people on board, and then we can move to more complex stuff. And right now, for getting people into tactical realism and communication, SRS is a bit of a barrier to entry. You got to download it, you got to set it up. Mm-hmm. It's a little bit fiddly sometimes. Sometimes it doesn't quite like to work and play nice with modules. And, it's all fixable, but for somebody who is new to DCS, it takes a lot of time to explain and get them over that little hump. So if there is something in place that means, do you know what? It's all in the box. It's all ready for you to go. We can encourage people to talk on the radio. We can encourage people to work in a tactical manner, which is what we prefer to do.
Thanks, Channel Right. Enjoy your walk. Taylor asking, what are the snags with the in-game radio? We were just finding it a little bit inconsistent. It sometimes just didn't work, basically.
Yeah.
That was the main problem. I've never really had any trouble with SRS, but it is true that often new recruits will come along and have some issues getting it set up. We always resolve them, and we always get it working in the end, but there have been many hours of time across the entire squadron wasted messing around with SRS, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm. And I've definitely had SRS go tits up on me like minutes before a mission, and it kind of almost scrub the first 30 minutes of a mission. So, anything that kind of gets rid of that. Tog is asking, wouldn't that kind of mess with the whole ATC rule? Yes, you're absolutely right, it would be. And that is kind of one of the things that means we would stick with SRS until the built-in, comms works better. Although I seem to remember them talking about virtual air traffic control towers in one post somewhere. So who knows what we might get. Like also, I say, it's heading in the right direction.
I think there's probably nothing stopping you from joining in a mission commander slot in DCS and just using the radio. That would probably work, although we've not tested it. But the thing I'm more interested in, really, is the possibility for deeper integration. Because right now, SRS needs to have specific integration for each aircraft that it wants to work with. And some specific functionalities, like some aircraft don't fully support the transponder and IFF functionalities and things like that, or even have quicken encryption. Whereas if we had a single unified SDK-provided voice solution, it would be much easier for all of the modules to just support all the real-world aircraft radio and audio functionalities.
Yeah, that's a big point. Like, because I'm not sure what SRS can extract out through the Lua export script. So yeah, if it's built in, like, I think it opens up a world of possibilities, especially around jamming. Like, an electronic warfare and the ability to interfere with communications. Like, I don't think there would be a method to do that with SRS. Like, I can see why some people wouldn't want it on their server. But, if you were wanting to go for full tactical realism and employ electronic warfare, having something that's built in and SDK'd, like, you could absolutely see that being a possibility.
Imagine being in one of our missions and losing your data link because someone's jamming.
Yeah, but I mean, do you know what? That would be cool. Like, I'd be like, this is awesome, because the thing is you have procedures for that. You have tactics that account for it. So, yeah, and like, I just don't think you can do that with SRS. And your point about the transponder not quite working and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, if it's all part of an SDK'd built-in system, like, there's big potential for it. I just hope they explore it, because as we've talked about a few times, multiplayer is a tiny percentage of DCS players, and this is very much a multiplayer only feature. And it's like, I just hope they continue to pursue it, because it has great potential. But if they look at it and go, do you know what, it's not worth the effort for the, like, 3% that play multiplayer, and then drop it.
Yeah. Hopefully they stick with it.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. I think that's probably all the news that we have for this week. There actually wasn't that much news, but we had a lot of opinions and things to discuss with chat, which is always really, really good. Like, thank you, chat, for your engaging questions and conversation. This is what makes this show fun for us to make and fun for you to watch.
Yeah, because I always have my opinions, and they're frequently wrong, but they're loud.
And in this day and age, that's what's important. Who says it loudest?
Who says it loudest? My opinion is correct, because I've shouted louder. Yeah.
And remember, everyone, as Tog says, join the VAF.
Indeed.
So yeah, he's been dotChuckles. I've been Deepak. Every Wednesday, I post a video premiere. Just now, I'm doing them on... what am I doing them on? Community mod aircraft.
Yes.
I just posted one today on the A4 Skyhawk, I think it's called, which is a really, really good aircraft. I'm probably going to do some more content on that one, but next week I will show you a whole new community mod that you can download for free and enjoy in DCS World. And those videos are always followed by the DCS news stream, which just happens to be this thing, what you're watching right now. So, thank you so much for your support, everybody. Please, if you haven't already, subscribe, like, and comment. You make the stream and the channel what it is. And until next week, fly safe, and we'll see you next time. Ta-ta.